everybody. Welcome to the Mid-America Truck Show Pro Talk series. Thanks for coming to the very first one of the day, talking about maximizing operating ratio. So when we talk about maximizing operating ratio, we're really talking about a specific formula. Operating expenses divided by your net sales, looking for something in the 80 to 90% range. So if you've got $80,000 of operating expenses, $100,000 of net sales, you're looking at an 80% operating ratio. What we're going to talk about on the panel mostly today is about how to control the costs that you might not think you have a ton of control over today. Your fixed costs, your costs of goods sold. We've got a fantastic panel for you today. Starting right here on my left, Alex Mai, or you may know him better as the Mother Trucker. He's been in the industry for over 10 years. He's a fantastic influencer, but also does a really great job as the voice of the truck driver. He's put out some fantastic surveys for us as we've been doing research on this panel, and we're looking forward to having him here. Next is Jamie Hagan, owner-operator turned fleet owner of Hellbent Express. Over the last 5 years, Jamie's grown his fleet from 1 truck to 12. I wanted to make sure I got that right, Jamie. Okay, technically 10. That number has changed. But excited to have Jamie here with us too. And then we have Pam Polyak of both Polyak Trucking. She brought her fan club today. And Polyak Consulting. She's a third generation fleet owner and brings a ton of experience with both growing your fleet and also consulting with smaller fleets to help them intro into the industry or continue to grow their fleet. And finally, Monty Wiederhold started out in the industry with his first truck he bought with his dad at the age of 22. In 1993, he bought BL Reaver, so a true owner-operator turned fleet owner. He's also the General VP on the board of OIDA today. So please help me welcome our panelists. All right, as we get started, I want to start off with Pam. Because Pam, when you're talking to new fleet owners, I'm really interested in if there's 1 or 2 operational costs that you see the new entrants consistently overlook or underestimate as they're coming into the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I on?
I hear you.
Okay. When you're starting off and you're just buying a truck, right? A bank can give you a truck. The classes can give you a CDL. What the difference is what expenses are coming with that before you even drive the truck, right? Your insurance costs, your heavy use tax. What are you paying for in advance? It feels like it's echoing around it. What are you paying for in advance before you even drive, right? So if a bank's going to go ahead and give you a loan, you're going to put somewhat of a down payment down. What money is left over for those first 6 months of costs that you're going to incur? The first maintenance cost, especially if you didn't buy a new truck and you're buying a used truck. What costs are going to drive that? But then taking those average numbers, your monthly insurance costs, taking that by how many days you plan on working. And you have to be careful with that number because you can say and come up and say, I'm going to be a big bad trucker and I'm driving all 52 weeks a year. I don't need days off. I haven't done that in 10 years. Be realistic, your truck's going to want a day off, right? I mean, you're going to have to park it at some point, whether it's for a PM service, whether it's for a blown tire, whether it's for a much longer repair like injectors or something like that. You have to factor in those days off into how you're going to operate in your operating ratio when you're figuring out those numbers. So you divide it by 20 days or you take those yearly costs and you go by 48 weeks. Don't do all 52. If you want to go on spring break with your kids, you need to factor that number into what a day off is going to cost you and be realistic about it because you want to venture on the low end and then pray that it's much better than that. Hey, if you can get into straight 50 weeks and you're running at full max, great, cool. Now you just made more profit, but you're dividing those numbers at the base minimum so that you can really see and operate fully.
And I want to throw that over to Jamie, right? Because I think when we spoke earlier, Jamie, you talked about as somebody who started out as a driver and then became a fleet owner, that was a huge factor for you in terms of the way your perspective changed from driver to then managing trucks and drivers.
Yeah, hopefully this is on. You can hear me though, right? No? A little bit. Wait. Yep. It's on. Okay, so
There we go.
Operating expenses, yeah, going from one truck and going from no truck, I should say, to one truck was an eye-opener. Capitalizing on the small victories where you can. For me, it was fuel efficiency. Finding a truck that was fuel efficient, driving slower. Direct correlation between fuel efficiency is maintenance. Your maintenance costs go down when you slow down and you save fuel. One thing that in modern trucks with your emissions, the more fuel you run through it, the more emissions you create, the more your emission system has to work. It's all directly correlated. So for me, it was learning to slow down and save where I could. All those little tiny pieces, you know, and everyone says to me like, well, you're only saving $100. Well, yeah, that's $100 every day. You know what I mean? Now you start adding it, like Pam said, 20 days out of a month. Now you've saved $2,000. You know, and $2,000 times 12 is $24,000. You know what I mean? Like, so it all adds up in the year. You can't think small on little things, because those little things add up all year long, and that's what makes, you know, your operating ratios in the end. You know, trucking has always been described to me as a game of pennies. You know, it's big numbers, but really your margins are so small that you have to save all those pennies little by little until you get there. You know.
Counts situation, right?
Yeah. 100%. In trucking, every penny counts.
So Monty, let's throw it over to you again. As a driver who transitioned to an owner, what was the biggest operational learning you made in that transition?
The biggest thing that I had to learn was that, you know, when I was an owner-operator and the dispatcher needed, he's got a load that nobody wants to take. Hey, can you help me out and take this load? And my dad and I were both like that. We were both leased to the same company, and like, hey, we're here to haul and make money. I mean, it may not be the best, but I'm going to take it. Most of the time, the dispatcher looked favorably upon you on the next time. So we did that. When I bought the company, and this is maybe more with steel haulers being tunnel vision, narrow-minded, no, I don't go there. I go here and back. I go here and back. Well, I know, but I don't have any loads going there. Yeah. Well, call me when you got ones going here and back. So I found out pretty quick that managing drivers or people or owner-operators, because I've always had owner-operators, that was one of the biggest, you know, surprises to me, because I thought, wow, doesn't everybody want to do good here? And, you know, when you think about stuff, and a good friend of mine gave me this, but he said it's got to work for the company and it's got to work for the owner-operator. And so everybody works together, everybody succeeds. If the company doesn't succeed, you're looking for another place to lease your truck out. And to go on what Jamie said a while ago about margins and all like that, trucking's about how much money you keep. I mean, you can gross $10,000 a week if you spend $8,000 or whatever it is, but it's the amount you keep and put in your pocket. And my dad taught me when we were learning, he said, son, trucking is a penny business. You take care of the pennies, the dollars come along pretty good.
It's the most effective way to take care of your operating ratio, right? Take care of those costs up front, and that ratio is going to come with the net sales that come through. I love that. So Alex, I know you also did a survey on your channel. One of the things that we wanted to figure out was, you know, for new entrants, all the drivers, owner operators out there, what do they see as the thing that people overlook most often coming into the industry? And you had some really interesting results coming out of that survey.
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic on? All right. Yeah. Hello? No. Okay. Look, this is talking about all the new truckers, which I'm not saying a lot of you here are the new drivers out there, because first of all I have to say is fuel prices are so shitty right now that the fact that you could be here at Mid-America and be here for education, you guys are doing something right. So first off, just hand clap for y'all out there. You know, this is the 1%, right? Because for people that haven't seen my show, I get a lot of drivers and they tell me what's going on right now, and trucking is really difficult right now for everybody, right? So, you know, this is a survey we did here. You know, I asked the question, 2,900 drivers answered this. So if you are new in trucking, listen up, right? So question of the week, what is the number one expense newcomers forget or underestimate when they jump into trucking, right? Here are the 4 things that we put down for options. Downtime, insurance premiums, road expenses like tolls, parking and food, and taxes. Now, from a guy that's been interviewing people for the last 10 years, right? And about I appreciate y'all. About 1 billion views on social media now. I really thought for the new guy, the thing that was going to be unexpected was that insurance. Because we all know when you first get into trucking, the only company that's going to give you a chance is probably going to be Progressive or someone like that. They're going to hit you with a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 bill. We all know that. We've all been there. But that's something that you're not going to not expect because they're going to give you that up front. But the one thing that you didn't expect is actually road expenses, tolls, parking, and food. That was 43% out of the 2,900, right? Tolls, we already know. Most of y'all don't want to go to the East Coast, but some of y'all have to. They're changing the rules. They're making the tolls hard. Parking, we don't even have to have that conversation. Every dang truck stop out there want to charge for parking now. You know, it's making it hard for the people to make a living. And food, look, I'm going to try and tell you like I do push-ups in the truck when I was working for North American Van Alliance moving furniture. But the truth was, I wasn't. I was eating fast food, I was eating poorly, and the hours of service gets you on the road so quickly that you don't have time, so you got to get, grab, and go. So what are you doing? You're spending more money that you're thinking, and you're not cooking in the cab. We just don't have the time. So from that, it was, out of the 2,900, 43% said road expenses, tolls, parking, and food. And the number 2 was downtime. 23% of people said downtime. So, you know.
So those road expenses really reiterate what everybody has been saying in here in terms of it's a penny game, right? Every time you go out there and you go into the truck stop and you're spending an extra $1 on the hot dog or whatever, that's $1 out from your revenue. But I also want to go back and talk a little bit about downtime.
Sure.
Because I know Pam and Jamie and Monty, we talked a lot about like how much downtime should people plan for when you're coming in new, when you're thinking about growing your fleet and bringing on an extra truck. How do you guys map that out in your own companies? Jamie, let's start with you.
Well, I plan for,
Oh, I can't hear you.
I'd like to get no downtime, if that's a thing.
You guys hear him okay?
Can you hear him? Can you hear me? I'm going to go like this.
Hi.
Let me see. Let me give you mine so I'll help out.
So,
Oh, give him the mic, yeah.
Give that a shot.
all right. Can you hear me now?
No, do that again. Hit that power button one more time.
Power button.
Give it a shot. Hold on.
Go back on.
Here, Jamie.
Where's the stairway? No.
Hello.
All right.
So, I mean, in the ideal world, no downtime, right? That'd be perfect. But that's not how life works. For us, on fleet ownership, it's really difficult. It's nice having 10 trucks. We're able to utilize all the equipment. If one's down, we can just grab another one and go. That's handy. We've got rental trucks that we, deals with other rental companies, so we can grab a rental and go. But when you're a one truck guy, that's not that easy, and that's 100% downtime. Then you know what I mean. The minute the truck stops, you're 100% done. There's no other guys helping you in a fleet situation, so it's crucial. For me, it came down to looking at powertrain, looking at things that made a difference, looking at dealership network. So that's how I ended up being such a big Mac guy. They've got a very, very large dealership network, focusing on uptime, how are they able to get a truck in, get a truck out quickly, because all that time matters. And then learning the truck too, like all the nuances of the truck, making sure that I understood the way it communicates, because every truck is different, right? Like every manufacturer has the way they do things, but learning their talk, when it said it needed this or that, how crucial was something like that, and how could I get it done quickly, and then establishing relationships, the R word again, relationships with dealerships, getting in there so they know you, so you can immediately get in and out. So that downtime's crucial.
Pam, you want to, especially I know you had some points about when you're deciding to bring on a new truck as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're trying to grow, one thing I tell people to remember, and I don't know if this is going to stay on now or not, but one thing you need to know for sure is that as a truck owner, there isn't a single truck driver out there who's going to do it better than you. Meaning, you as an operator, if you've been in the truck and you've been driving and you want to hire and you want to move on, and the next guy is not going to do it the way you do it. You need to monitor, watch, and teach. Use the telematics. I actually got asked this morning what telematics even meant by a fleet owner, and he's got 4 trucks. He didn't even know what the word meant. It's the very basics of what your truck is doing, your speed, your optimization, your idle time. Those kind of things are where, whether you hire your best friend from college or your cousin or your brother or whatever, you need to now be their boss. You need to tell them, I don't want you idling your truck that long. Use the APU, whatever it is. There needs to be goals set for them to make that help limit your costs. I want your MPG at this. I want your idle time at this. You are now their boss, and it's okay to monitor them even when there's only 2 of you. You just have to keep in mind when you're calculating those numbers and those figures that they're not going to do the same as you. They're not going to run the way you do, and they're not going to run as hard no matter what they try and sell you in an interview. It's just not going to happen. And so the more you can realize that and absorb that and then use their real numbers to then calculate out what you need, it's going to help you in the long run.
And it doesn't always have to feel like Big Brother, right? Like if
Correct.
you as a company know your number, if you know what type of MPG you should be able to get, and Jamie, I know you know this inside and out on your trucks, like what should our MPG be? They've got a target. They've got a key performance indicator that they can be running after. Monty, do you want to add?
So from my standpoint, because I've never had drivers, I've had owner-operators my entire career as a fleet owner. Obviously, I tried to hire guys that were experienced in what they were doing, flatbedding and stuff and all like that. And also, one of the things about is I encourage them to obviously get the best price on the fuel cards that we have. Check out and see, because look, if you're making money, that's helping your longevity out in this business, all this type of stuff. So I still encourage them to watch their bottom line, because the more successful they are, the more successful I am. So, and like Pam was saying here a while ago, it's kind of like, and I think you talked about this the other day, but if you have a restaurant, you open up this restaurant, it's your pride and joy. Man, this is really going great. I'm going to open another one. Whoever you're going to get to manage that second one, they're not going to look at it the same way you do. I mean, they may tell you and all like that, but deep down, maybe they're not going to have the connection to it like you do. So what Pam was saying about that and what Jamie, it's the same thing, because you're not always going to get people that's going to be, they're going to be maybe on the same page, they're going to be a paragraph down or a paragraph up from where you're at.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think you mentioned fuel, Monty, and we all know there's interesting things happening in the market today. I think that's the easiest way to put it. Let's start with you, Alex. Where do you see drivers being caught the most off guard in today's market shifts, and how are they managing to that?
Right. So I'm just here interviewing a whole bunch of drivers. I drove a truck moving furniture for 10 years, but for a while now I've been interviewing drivers, about 8,000 of them, posting videos. So I just want to come from a perspective of what I'm hearing from what people are telling me. So the first thing is there's 2 type of drivers. There's one that 100% should not be in a truck, don't know what the hell they're doing, right? And they're bidding loads off a spot market. They have no clue what their cost per mile is and what they should be doing at all. And they're figuring out real quick right now that they're going broke fast, right? And then there's the other owner-operator right now who's more educated, doing what they can, because, if it's not contracted freight, then you already know. You got to estimate your own fuel surcharge in your head of what it's really going to cost you. The problem that's happening to you right now is, as soon as you estimate that in and you say, hey, Mr. Broker, of course, I want you to have direct shipments, but the truth is, depending on where you are, you might not have those relationships, you might have to jump on a load board. But guess what? You do everything that you can, you do your due diligence, but then something pops up on the news, and right away, we all know this and we love this, right? Every time something happens on the news, fuel prices go up really high, but then when the barrel goes down, you ain't gonna see a trickle down from the fuel prices for a couple weeks. Yeah. So it's hard to manage what that fuel cost is gonna be, because right now it's just like a revolving door. It's hard to manage that. So a lot of people are getting screwed. So the one thing that I can say is, look, right now, if you're paying retail price and you're at the truck stop right now and you're paying that number up there, just know that Knight and Swift ain't paying that number, right? Just know that everyone else ain't paying that number, so you shouldn't either. You know, I know we're here for a multi-service fuel card panel. I'm just telling you, make sure you got some fuel cards in your pockets, because if you're paying that retail price right now, you're doing yourself injustice, right? And of course, the other thing is, look, I know last year we were fighting a lot about wanting no speed limiters and this and that, but I'm sure there's a lot of you that it don't matter if they change California to 80 miles per hour right now. It ain't probably that smart to go 80 miles per hour down that road right now.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to go broke real quick. So you just got to manage, and there's a lot of smart people here that are smarter than me that could tell you about that.
Yeah, actually, I'll throw it over to Pam from here. Thank you for the pitch, Alex.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's lots of fuel card companies here. We'd love to talk to you guys today about how we can help you mitigate the fuel increases at multi-service fuel cards. So please feel free to stop by and talk to us. But Pam, I know, especially with this latest fuel hike, we've had a lot of discussions about how you've been able to manage that between your contract freight. So why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the easiest ways as a small owner that you can just kind of calculate the number is you take what you did the third week of January. The real number, what you did in revenue, what you did from the customer, and then what you did in fuel. And then use the miles that you ran by odometer reading. Don't do the estimate, don't do PC miler. Use your real numbers to calculate this out. Then turn around and go to the EIA website. EIA.gov will tell you what fuel is in what region. So if the third week of January fuel was at $3.50 a gallon, right? Whether you're on pad 1, pad 2, whichever category you want to look in, or full on nationwide is fine. You take that number and say, okay, that was what the rate was at the time, and this is how much I spent on fuel. Then you turn around and you fast forward to what was fuel at last Tuesday when they posted it. If that change then, and you calculate using the number of gallons you actually spent, that's how much your difference is. It's just using the numbers that you already used, realizing that, hey, I'm going to need to spend an extra $600 this week on fuel alone to do exactly what I just did in January. And then you're at least equipping your mind when you're on the phone with the people trying to book the loads and get on the load boards, or go back to your customer and ask them for a raise. This was our base price. Now I want to add fuel surcharge on it. This was our base price. We agreed upon this in January, but now it doesn't work anymore. Fuel went up. It does not work. I need more numbers. And then be adamant about it. Customers are bending to it right now. And brokers have it already in place. 90% of brokers will have a contracted rate with their people that have a base and a fuel surcharge. So you asking for more is not digging in their pocket, and if they tell you otherwise, they're lying 99% of the time. They've got a fuel surcharge. So go back to them and say, hey, I need an extra 40 cents per mile on this. I need an extra $200 on this load, so that you can bank that money and not them, not the broker. Don't keep that in the broker's pocket. That's a fuel surcharge that you guys are using, an operational cost that you guys have. So be an advocate for yourself when you're doing that. But be factual about it. Don't pull a number out of no man's land and say, I want that load for $1,200 now. Well, okay, but back in January it was only $600. You just did it. Now you want to double? You know, just be realistic about what those numbers are, and also educate the broker, because a lot of times those are just guys behind a computer that have no clue what they're doing either. So educating them is half the battle as well.
And then, Jamie, I'll let you speak on that too, but you really have built a name around being the fuel efficiency guy, right? And you've already spoken about,
Yes,
sure.
You,
Yeah?
yes, you, Mr. Mac.
So let's talk about like some of the immediate actions people can take, like you mentioned, slowing down a little bit earlier, and then more of like long term, how do you build out your specs to buffer around these types of spikes in fuel costs?
Sure. Just to speak on what Pam was talking about too, when I negotiate with a broker, let's say the load's $2,000, I'll say that sounds great, but also could you add $157.58? I always try to, they call it like a closing tactic. So you always try to make it like a weird number, so that way they're like, well yeah, we can, and suddenly you got enough to cover your extra fuel, right? But also on fuel efficiency, it's huge right now with the cost of fuel. Every half a gallon you can save is just going to put money in your pocket. You're going to succeed with this. It also goes, like I said, mentioned before, downtime. The less fuel you use, the less your truck works, the longer it runs. It's just like a direct correlation. We've known this for about the last decade. If you look at numbers, the most fuel-efficient fleets don't have maintenance issues. But with that, speccing trucks, specifically aerodynamic trucks, I know we all want to drive some of these beautiful rigs out here. I would love to if I could afford to, but as it turns out, I need to make a profit to stay in business. So we run Mac Pioneers now, Mac Anthems. We spec those for fuel efficiency with all the aerodynamics we can get on the truck. We also do a downsped powertrain. It's something that Volvo and Mac come with here 12 years ago or so now, 14 years. The engine runs at a very low speed, RPM. It uses a lot of heat in the engine to push through the emission system, which needs heat. There again, the maintenance thing. But we're seeing, our fleet average right now is in the 8s. We're trying to get into the 9s, especially with fuel being the way it is. We got a couple trucks that are hitting 10 regularly, and we're hauling all over the Midwest, right in Pam's backyard. No offense, Pam. But we're
Competitor, but friend. It's all the same thing.
But yeah.
That's great. And I'll hand it over to you, Monty. Anything on the fuel efficiency front or fuel savings front?
Well, so, Jamie's operations and mine are quite a bit different. We do a lot of steel hauling. We do a lot of permit loads. I did 3 permit loads this week. The lightest one was 60,000 pounds. Obviously, I'm not going to get 9 miles a gallon, but we still try to do the best we can with it. Obviously, on those loads where we're hauling the permit, the weight, all like that, the revenue is quite high on it. So that really helps us to offset. Our customers have always been really good about fuel surcharge. The steel mills and stuff, they want to move their product. We have, our fuel surcharge for our company is 37%. We have one of the mills that's paying us 39% right now on loads we haul for them. So those people are wanting to make sure they have the trucks to service the needs that they have. I did a spot yesterday, just real quick, on NPR radio interview. And the lady asked me more or less kind of like, what keeps you up at night? Or what was the question about, what if this lasts 6 months or a year? And I said, well, look, obviously this is something that's big for the trucking industry. But I said, if I survived COVID, I survived when customers were telling me, hey, we're going to shut down, we're going to close up here, we don't know for how long. I'm like, what do you mean? I've been trucking, this was back in 2020. I've been in trucking for close to 40 years back then. What do you mean? So while this is a big deal, and you can't run around thinking about all the what ifs, because if you do, you're going to drive yourself nuts. You got to look at things pragmatically from a business standpoint of view, just like Jamie's talking about, trying to do the best you can, keeping the most money in your pocket. And that's, keep your head down, don't get excited. Don't lose sight of what the real goal is, being successful.
Keep leaning on that business savvy, right? I'm going to keep the mic with you real quick, Monty, and I'm going to pose a question to the whole group, so we'll pass it down. So let's talk about fleet growth really quickly. When you're thinking about when it's time to bring on a new truck, whether it's you're moving from 1 truck to 2 trucks or 2 trucks to 10, how do you model out the return on that truck? What major considerations do you make before you decide, yes, now is the trigger point for me to go and make that purchase?
Well, obviously business dictates that, but the biggest thing I look at is when I'm going to hire another owner-operator is I need a guy that's going to want to go to Chicago one week and Pittsburgh the next week or whatever, or Tennessee. I need to have somebody that's going to be willing for him to succeed and for me to succeed. So that's kind of what drives me.
So when you're modeling out a new truck.
Yeah. Now am I off?
Oh, we're losing everybody
I'm off.
now?
Hello. Okay. Oops, sorry. My bad. I think one of the bigger things that I like to tell people when we are going to bring on a new truck is 100% dependent on what business I have. I have a call later this afternoon where if I turn around and get these lanes, it's another 40 lanes a day. So I'm going to need to hurry up and hire more people. But I think the basics of it is I usually keep a few more than what my dedicated freight is, and I just load board them until I can put them in place for something else. I keep in a couple extra trailers In the yard, I don't maximize them in terms of utilization 100%, only because I'm constantly looking for more work. I'm constantly looking for another lane, another opportunity, and you never know when that's going to come up. And that's what I tell my team as well when they're getting phone calls. Hey, I've got a truck here to here. Hi. Hi, Ingrid. I've got a truck looking from here to here. I don't need that lane today, or I can't do that today, but I would love it if you could call us back next week. I think I might have some availability. And keeping that line of communication, and understand that anytime your phone rings, it's a broker hounding you, it's because they need you. And even if they don't need you today, they might need you tomorrow, and you might need them as well. So it's constantly keeping those lines of communication open, and then keeping drivers in the background to kind of help do that, even if they've got to do load boards for a little bit first before they can move to some dedicated freight.
And the load board, before you pass that mic away, I think the load board piece of that is important, right? Because one of the things that you had mentioned is don't buy a brand new vehicle for just one dedicated lane, because you've got to be able to mitigate those risks. Can you talk about that really briefly?
Yeah, it's that idea of, are you buying a truck for a driver, and then are you putting that driver on a dedicated lane right away? And it's kind of that ick feeling of, one, are you getting that expense out the gate right away? Is that driver going to do things the way you do it? And then the risk if that lane collapses, if it fails. I mean, in this industry, more times than not, you might be getting paid by the shipper, the broker's got the freight from the shipper, and then somebody behind a desk turns around the next month and says, hey, starting on the first of the month, we're taking over the freight, we're taking over the credit, and you have no idea where that lane just went. And that's an extremely frustrating part. I can tell you more times than not that that's happened to us in the last 20 years, where I'm putting people in place because we've got these dedicated lanes and we're ready to rock and roll. And then as of April 1st, where's my lanes? Nobody communicates, nobody tells, nobody anything, and you finding out that it's on a load board by some other broker because now the receiver's taking over the freight payables on it. So it's just being careful and never, ever putting all your eggs in one basket. I know it's very easy to do in a one fleet operation, but the more you can diversify to different customers, the better off you're going to be. I stand on the fact that, in COVID, we had lanes. I was hauling, I don't know, it was like 3 truckloads a day, so not a ton of freight, but 3 truckloads a day of turtle wax, which was the stuff for cars. Well, car washes shut down, truck washes shut down. That lane completely disappeared. And it never actually came back. But it's that idea of, we had all these other lanes that kind of were able to keep us afloat and keep us versatile in that. So never close those doors.
Great, thank you. Jamie.
Same question?
Yeah. So, since I said you had 12 earlier, you had 10, the plan to build from 10 to 12, how do you decide when it's time to add a new truck on?
Well, to speak to Pam's situation too, what you have today, you will not have tomorrow. The customer you have right now, they're going to change their mind. Someone else is going to move into the shipping position, and they're going to go with their buddy or whatever relationship they have, broker-wise or anything. So what you have today most likely will not be there tomorrow. Hellbent Express has been in business for 6 years, and the people we started with, we don't even talk with anymore. We've moved to this one and and established different relationships with this place and that place, so it's always moving. So when you want to add a truck, there's the frustration, there's the risk. Because what you have today might not be there tomorrow. You could invest wildly, like say you're getting a big customer. I'm going to go out and buy 10 more trucks. And within months, you don't have them anymore. They're gone. Then what? So that's why you got to weigh that. Great idea with brokering it yourself. Then you can get almost no risk involved in the sense, you got risk, but it's less risk buying the equipment and getting involved. And you can always bring on owner-operators too. We've got a couple that are leased onto us just to kind of fill that gap too. But that's the hard decision right there, is when do you grow? And for us, it was always, okay, this is going well, let's add 1 or 2 more. And this is going well, let's add 1 or 2 more. That was over years, and that's we got to 12, and then things really got ugly. And as guys quit, we sold trucks off, and we got down to 7. Now we're back to 10. It's how it works. What you have today will be gone, and you just got to be cool with that.
So talking about buying things, when to buy and when not to. Let's talk about the back end a little bit and the support operations behind the fleet, right? What are the procurement decisions that you've made that you've seen the biggest ROI on from a fleet perspective that have allowed you to grow? Or have there been some that you've went for that really did not turn out the way you wanted it to?
Oh, I got one.
I knew Pam would.
Actually, you guys are going to hate me for this statement, but it's actually a TMS system that has a lot of AI capabilities. One of the biggest things I see with my clients who are trying to grow from the 1 to 2 truck operations to the up to 10, 15 trucks, that kind of thing, is like, when do you actually get a TMS system? Oh, I don't need that. Oh, I do the billing on the weekends. Oh, I do this. Well, do you realize that a TMS system can do your invoicing for you at the time you deliver the load? When your driver takes a picture of it, it can send automatically to your customer with the rate con, with the BOL, and your invoicing is done within minutes of you delivering the load. That type of technology and that type of AI, I know it's a scary word, and oh my God, I don't know anything about AI, but that's the type of tools that you need, and you can implement them in your TMS system immediately starting today. It gets your billing done, your invoicing done, your reporting done, all of those things that you can do. You find the right TMS, and I don't know if they're here, but don't do the big legacy guys, or try to, I mean, if you're a small person, you don't need a big TMW system for $65,000 implementation fee. You can use the smaller AI companies. I'll plug it, Amos TMS, just because I love them dearly, and you knew it was coming, but they're fantastic in terms of working with a fleet that only has 2 trucks and then growing all the way to 200. It's a good platform that turns around and says, I'm okay, I can use this because I want to do the invoicing right away, because the sooner you invoice, the sooner the cash comes in.
And we'll throw another plug out there. If AI is a scary word to you, I know there is a session later today on AI specifically around 2 o'clock. So go check it out, or go see these 2 guys in the front row here, because they're helping out with
the GLCS team.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Monty, do you have anything you want to add to that one?
I don't really, because we're pretty old school with BL Reaver, but if I was to tell Doreen we're going to go with AI stuff, she'd probably walk out the door tomorrow. But anyway, it does, I mean, I will say that computerization and like some of the systems, some of the seal mills that we deal with, we get on there and pull a load off the board, and when we make the delivery, we mark it as accepted, whatever. And it does speed up the cash flow because, and like you said, the sooner you get it in the system, the sooner you're going to get paid. So it has made things easier. We haven't really got anything going with AI as far as that goes. I think there is some benefits to it. I think some of it's probably a little bit overblown, but probably some of that's for me not understanding. So.
All right, and then so we've got a couple of minutes left here. I want to throw this out there in case there are any questions from the audience, and we want to throw some questions up to the panelists yourselves. Any questions out there?
It's called Amos TMS, AMOUS, International. If you go on the Play Store, they've got apps, but website works too. AMOUS.
Yep. Another
Bueller?
question coming here.
Bueller? You need that, don't you?
Hi there, Pamela. My question is for you. I'm Nikhil. I run a data analytics AI consultancy, trying to deliver, an abstraction of AI layer to any operator so that they can include that in their business. I know a lot about tech. I know how to get things around, but what I don't know is like how operators think. If any of you can give me a suggestion on like what is the best way to speak with them and communicate with them so that they could understand the power, because I'm trying to reach the operators, but more or less they're like, we're not interested. So what's the mindset of an operator? How can I reach them?
You can't. They're in truck stops and they don't care what you have to say. The reality is you scare them, right? You're the big brother that nobody wants. You're the one telling them to run 69 miles per hour when they want to run 74. You need to target the actual owners that are probably likely out of the truck already. And you can, Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't want to talk to AI tech people. it just becomes very complex. And to be honest, like I said earlier, I got asked the question today, like, what is telematics? I mean, they didn't even know what the word was. So to them, it's about operating the truck. You have to go a little bit bigger and deeper to those fleets where that owner is out of the truck already to then get the details from them. I mean, you could go to truck stops, but I don't know that you're going to get anybody who wants to talk to you. I'm just
answer your
being honest.
question. I can answer your question for that guy. That's simple. It's money. Owner-operators and company drivers do not want to work for free or cheap. So if you want to get owner-operators, you got to show them the money. It's the same thing as company drivers. AI is nice, but it does help for the newer drivers. But old school drivers, show me the money, we get the job done. If you don't show me the money, I'm not going to eat your peanut butter sandwich. I want my steak just like you want your steak. So that's really the bottom line. You got to be able to show the money.
Yep.
But to the tech guy, that doesn't mean an email that says, I can guarantee a 10% reduction in your ROI. That's not going to work either.
It's all about the messaging.
Yep. You got that lady right there.
Yeah. I don't know who's first.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a founder of Dispatch Training Center. Have been trying to change trucking for the better through education, teaching dispatchers operational cost. Everybody talks about AI dispatchers. What do you think? Are they going to do the same job as us humans, negotiating, asking for that fuel surcharge? And when you talk about it, broker is going to tell you it's already included in the rate. So it's nice to talk about fuel surcharge, but nobody's going to give it to you unless they need your truck exactly today. And then you see rate confirmation has suddenly extra $600, but brokers take advantage of it. And this is the reality. So AI dispatcher, what do you think?
No, thank you. I love my dispatchers. I love my dispatchers. I will utilize my dispatchers. I will utilize AI to maximize what my dispatchers can do, but it's not going to replace my dispatchers.
A good friend of mine in Texas that's got about 150 truck fleet, he's got a friend of his that's got a bigger fleet. And the AI dispatch, he was getting rid of 1/3 of his dispatchers like in 1 month, and he was going to get rid of another third a month or two down the road. So it is making headways in that. I don't know that it's better. Like I say, I'm very old school about things, but I just know that there are people that are using that and are they're lowering their labor costs. I don't know what it costs to buy the AI stuff. I've always wondered what the trade-off is, but I'm just saying people are doing that.
Question I have is, I'm an independent small fleet, no different than yourself there, Jamie, and I really enjoy following some of the stuff that you put out there on social media and so forth. But as the gentleman asked a question about TMS and so forth, what is it that you're doing as a carrier to promote the update or the upgrade to go with a TMS or AI or any of that kind of new technology? How is it that you're selling it to the owner-operator or the company drivers that you got so that they are willing to adapt and embrace that technology to support you as a business owner?
I carry a firearm. You will do as you're told. No, I mean, when we talk to the guys in the fleet, you know, we try to explain how it's going to work better. You know what I mean? Like, give it a shot. If you don't like it, then it's not going to work. Speaking about AI dispatching, you know, we tried it for a brief second. The problem was there was no personality behind. Even though they make it sound like a human, we all know it's not. And that was the problem. Nobody wanted to communicate with that AI person. You know, they just would be like, okay, how do I get to Jamie? So that's how they would skip ahead. And then I would talk, and, you know, and I'd make some stupid joke. And, you know, you're establishing a relationship. You know, people want to work with people they know. And so for us, new technology like AI and stuff like that, it's going to be integrated sooner or later. It's going to, you know, take your ELD and it's going to say, you know what, you probably could have done this or that. You know, I could see it helping people learn that don't want to learn. You know what I mean? Like, some of us are really into numbers. That's what got me into fuel economy. I was really into it. So I'd always sit at home and just dig through the numbers, Well, now my AI can dig through the numbers and be like, okay, so here's what you could do differently. So I could see that helping, but right now, like trying to take over the personalities of your, you know what I mean? Like Pam's over here, like, I love my dispatchers because they're humans. You know what I mean? Like that. How do you replace that? It might, be a lot less. What would it cost to put an AI person, robot, whatever you want to call it, in your system? Way less than a human, and they probably don't call in sick. At least you hope they don't. But in the end, that's all I've heard is people talk about relationships. Everybody knows somebody, and they can help. And we talked to a couple earlier who's just got one truck in Wisconsin. I said, you know what? Every once in a while we get some overflow. Like, why don't you give me your card, and I will pass along a load to you in the future, because that's just a relationship. So that's. I don't think technology can replace that.
And just to jump on that too, going back to what we talked about earlier in terms of key performance indicators, and it doesn't have to feel like Big Brother, right? You have that relationship. It's a slightly different scenario, but we've got a customer on our fuel card business, 150 trucks. It's all owner operators. And what they've done is actually let them go out, use the fuel card that they were previously using, and then show them an analysis of like, hey, if you use this as an owner operator, this money would go directly back into your pocket, and here's how much we know you'll save based on what other people are doing, right? So same thing from a telematics standpoint. The value of what the telematics is bringing you is all of this data. I'm a major data geek too. If you can show them the value that brings back to the company or it brings back to them, you can get that buy-in a little more quickly.
Trisha,
My two thoughts.
I just got one thing to add when it comes to kind of having your drivers be advocates for it and kind of getting them on the same board. But it also goes back to what Alex was saying about what they care the most about is cost. So what I do like once a month, or I try to, like right now I'm running a March Madness program, but what I tell people is tolls. We're based in Milwaukee, so we hit those Illinois tolls all the time. I tell them, you guys make this a full week of no tolls, I'll take that money and it will go directly into your pocket instead of the state of Illinois. And I run these programs where I try and get that number lower, where I get them thinking outside the box of, do I have to use that Waukegan toll that's now at $15? Like, that one's the easiest one to go around. Save me some money here. I'm tired of paying the state of Illinois. So you can also make it fun for the drivers and ways to directly impact their pocketbook by also trying to work around to yours.
All right, so on the subject of dispatchers, and I really want to grow a logistics business and really focus on fleet operations. I see on social media these days, social media is social media, but I see everybody selling dispatch courses, and it seems like there's so many like
buy them all.
so many independent dispatchers.
Buy them
out
all and
there.
offer to pay double.
I see more people selling courses than I do actual people that are being dispatchers. So like, is there really a need for independent dispatchers, or is it better to get connected with an existing fleet?
Who wants it? Me? Oh, crap. Don't do those dispatching classes. And here's a great example. I had an owner-operator 2018, 2019. He got fired, so he went out and got his own authority. Okay, cool. 6 months later, his wife started popping up with owning these dispatching classes, and for $1,000 and 8 hours of classes, you can learn to be a dispatcher too. I'm like, well, that's cute, because you're not one. So you really have to be careful on who you're buying into and what kind of their expertise level actually is. But I actually had this conversation last night at dinner. The thing with dispatching classes is that the biggest value is actually in doing it. You need to just have somebody who's willing to give you a shot, willing to do it on dispatching on any level, whether it's tacking on to JB Hunt and working in their department for a little bit and going big and then working on small. You can turn around and get experience very easily outside of just a course, because the problem is that course is not going to adapt to what things you use. Every trucking company is completely different. The things we haul, the programs we use, the systems we use, the way our customers want to be updated, the way our loads come in, everybody is different. And so there's not one magic course that's going to help you. You need to find somebody, if you want the help, you got to find somebody who's willing to meet you where you're at. what do you need help on, and how do you want to grow? Because your story is going to be different than somebody else's. And so it's really getting that one-on-one experience and not just dumping money on the newest, latest, and greatest YouTube videos. Sorry, Alex.
So Monty's got something real quick to add, and then we need to wrap it
I
up.
just want to say, if you're really interested in doing something like that, let me just say, I think the best way to get your feet wet, so to speak, is go to a trucking company, see if they need somebody to do a billing clerk. Get started in the back office someplace, listen to what's going on around you, and then you'll pick up on stuff and you'll see how these guys are doing things that are successful. Because not everybody's cut out to be a dispatcher. You know, just like some guys ain't really cut out to be truck drivers. So, you know, there's a happy medium, but if you're successful at it and you're good at it, they'll respect you, and you'll have a lot of respect for the drivers that you're trying to dispatch.
Great advice. Alex?
The driver will follow you, too.
Look, real quick, right? So I've pretty much interviewed like every trucking company that has gone out of business, right? Let's have a quick conversation about that. So every company from 10 trucks to 7,000 trucks, I've interviewed them and their owner. And I asked them, what the hell happened? You knew what you were doing. Why did you fail? Every single one of them told me one thing. Alex, I should have fired that one damn customer I had before I knew what was good for me. So just understand that we are all in business, I'm sorry to say, to make a profit and make money. If you have a good customer and you want to take care of them here and there, take care of your customer. But you have the right to fire your customer if they're making you broke. And as you get bigger, and I wish that you get as much success as you can, every single owner and founder that I talk to, either from 5 trucks, 10 trucks to 1,000 or 10,000 trucks, they took on that one customer that they overpromised and went broke doing it.
That's awesome. Thanks. A perfect way to finish up. We really appreciate you all joining this panel. I hope you took a couple of things out of it that'll either help you increase your bottom line or take that next step to grow. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the show.